Okay. Okay, tell me your name.
Christina Amanda Keene.
Okay. All right. So you grew up in Barrie, right?
Yes.
You said you have both your parents.
Yes.
Okay, tell me
Yeah.
about your childhood.
My childhood was a violent one. My dad was an alcoholic, and he did a lot of coke. He beat my mom a lot. My mom worked 3 jobs just to support us because my dad couldn't hold a job. I had a little brother and sister. My mom tried to leave my dad numerous times, but kept going back. I never understood why until I experienced the same thing, and I believe it's out of weakness or out of feeling like you have no other options to do. But she finally left him for good when I was 8. We went to the Women and Children's Crisis Center, and we ended up staying there for a year. Normally, you only stay there for 3 months, but because my mom had such a hard time finding a big enough place for her and us 3 kids, they let her stay.
Can I ask you to?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, my
Yeah.
hair's kind of...
No, it's good, very good.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me, before 8 years old, what do you remember?
I don't remember a lot. I remember getting picked on a lot.
By who?
Everybody, all the kids at school, the kids in the special ed class used to protect me. There was a guy, Chris Nichols, who was in grade 8. He used to double me on his bike to school and back every day because kids would follow me and beat me up because I went to bed. So they used to pick on me. Yeah, I other than that, I don't know why.
But there's no abuse from your parents.
Yeah, my dad, I used to have to, we used to have naps, I remember, until my mom left my dad. And if we were heard walking across the floor, because we had a duplex, if he heard us go into the bathroom or anything, he would storm up the stairs and hit us and send us back to our rooms. And I don't know why, because, I mean, at 8 years old, you shouldn't have nap time, as far as I'm concerned. Nap time ends when you're, like, in school, is when you're school age, you know? So, yeah.
Okay. Then you went to the shelter with your mom
Yeah.
when you were 8 years old. Stayed 1 year there.
Yeah, and it was a good experience. There was a lot of caring people there. The parents were always happy and smiling, and there was always, I remember this girl used to read, and she was a year younger than me, but she used to read to me, my brother and sister, at night before we went to bed, which was comforting, because my mom and dad never did that for us. And yeah, and then when we did finally leave, it was the place that we moved into. It's not there anymore. It seemed like every place that we moved into, it was so run down that it got condemned, and we always had to move because our family was pretty poor, because it was only my mom bringing in an income. And then when we moved into the house on McDonald Street, just down from the courthouse, that's when the 2 teenage boys terrorized and raped me. My mom hired a babysitter through an agency because she had no other options, and I understand that. And he allowed those boys to terrorize me, chase me around the room until all my clothes were off, and then took turns raping me while my brother and sister watched. And CAS didn't do anything about it because they believed that the story was too extravagant. They didn't think that anybody would believe it. So nothing was ever done.
How old were you?
I was 9, 8, 9.
So CIS not even take you to the hospital
To do an exam? No. No. My mom called them. They came and talked to me. They talked to my brother and sister, but because it was so unbelievable because of what happened, they thought that a judge wouldn't believe what I was saying, because one boy would spread his ass and sit on my face while the other one had intercourse with me, and then they would switch. And they couldn't comprehend that someone would do that to a child, so they didn't think that the judge would believe. So yeah, nothing was done.
Okay. That was a trauma, right?
Oh, big time.
Big time.
Yeah. And then I didn't have much of an education. I think that's when I started to really misbehave, because I felt like nobody cared really. So I was always talking back. I think of it as a defense mechanism, so people wouldn't pick on me, so I wouldn't get beat up. Because it was every day, you know, people were holding my hands behind my back and taking shots at me, and I was scared to go out for recess on the playground. In grade 6, I remember I didn't go to school at all until the end of the school year, until they put me in a foster home. And CAS waited until 15 days before the end of the school year before they put me in a foster home. And then I got suspended for 10 of those 15 days for smoking on school property. But they still passed me through grade 6. I went to grade 7, and I was so badly behaved that they passed me through grade 8 into grade 9 just to get rid of me. And then I was in jail for the first semester of grade 9. They let me out early to go into the second semester. Because when you go from grade 7 to grade 9, they're supposed to put you in basic classes. But when I got out of jail, they put me in grade 9 and 10 general and advanced classes. So they basically set me up to fail.
What caused you into jail?
For theft. Because with my dad not around when I was younger, my mom helped out a lot of street kids, and they taught me how. It was basically survival. I stole to survive. I had to take care of my brother and sister. We had to eat, so I stole.
Yeah. Tell me that experience. How that happened.
It was scary. One of the street kids taught me, they said, just do this. Put it in your pocket or put it in your bag. Make sure no one's looking. Make sure no one's following you. And I did, and it worked. And my brother and sister ate that night. So, yeah, I just became a habit.
Yeah, which instance caused you to jail that time?
I don't remember, because there were so many instances where I was caught but just put on probation. I believe it was a couple of theft charges combined that put me in jail that time. So.
You were still underage, right? 15?
Yes. Yeah, so they sent me to a group home in Oshawa, the Henwoods group home, and it was actually a good place to be.
It's not a jail?
No, it's a group home for open custody.
Okay.
There was a lot of people that went there from Vanier and Toronto, and there was a couple of people from Barrie. There was 4 houses. One was a children's aid home, and the other 3 were open custody homes.
Tell me about that. What the group home looks like.
It was actually a good setting. You shared rooms. There was a couple of showers. Each day of the week, you took turns making dinner for the house. Once a week or twice a week, they would take you on an outing, like roller skating, or you'd go bowling or something like that. If you were well behaved, you got to go to school. You were allowed to take a bus. You were allowed to go home for passes. It was just like being in jail, but it was like more of a home setting.
Every kids are underage.
Yes.
What is the daily basis activity you guys do every day?
Well, I was one of the well-behaved ones when I was there, because there was structure, I think. So I was well-behaved because I knew that if I was well-behaved, there was reward, whereas at home there wasn't. So I was well-behaved, so I was allowed different privileges. I was allowed to get up extra early in the morning to do workouts. I was allowed to go to school. I was allowed to go to Narcotics Anonymous meetings, and those were unattended. And I don't. Part of it was because I was well behaved. Part of it was because my family didn't really visit me when I was there, so they knew that I was pretty much by myself. So yeah.
Okay. You stayed 1 year in Ottawa?
In Oshawa, yeah.
Oshawa? Okay.
Yes.
After that?
After that, I went back to Barrie. I came back to Barrie. I went back to school, but again, because they set me up, I think, pretty much to fail in my classes, they tried to help. Like, the teachers that were there in high school tried to help, but it was, I believe, too late. I know that I'm an intelligent woman, but it's all, curiosity based. I was curious about things, so I sought out information. And that's where I believe my intelligence comes from.
Yeah.
It wasn't from education, it wasn't from school. And they tried to help me, but by then it was already too late. I didn't understand what they were trying to teach me. If I'm interested in what I'm trying to learn, then I retain it. If it doesn't interest me, then I'm unable to remember what I'm learning. So, yeah.
You mentioned before your uncle also abusive.
Yeah, he started by taking me out for lunch every day when I was in public school.
Like, how old were you?
12, 13.
Okay.
Yeah. And then he started taking pictures of me, and they were innocent pictures. But then one time I came home on a pass, and he wanted me to pull my shirt over my shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
And then he wanted to pull it down further and further, and my arms were over my chest. But someone noticed when looking at one of the pictures that one of my nipples was showing. And they brought it to the attention of my mom, who freaked out but didn't do anything about it. Instead, I don't know, he creeped me out. He asked me to photograph nude for him, and I said no. And I was desperate for a place to stay once, because my mom kicked me out when I was 13. And so I went to stay with him, and I smoked cigarettes at the time. I didn't do drugs at the time. And he told me that he would buy me a pack of smokes if I posed nude for him. And I refused. So I was made to sit at the kitchen table all day. I think he thought that I was going to give in, but I didn't. And eventually my little cousin Brian, who was like 8 years younger than me, at the time you didn't need a parent's note or anything like that to go get cigarettes, so he went and took his allowance and went and bought me a pack of cigarettes, so that I wouldn't have to do that. And I left after that, and I never spoke to him again. Yeah, when my grandfather died on that side of the family, he left me some money, and I was so scared to see my uncle again that I made my mom and my dad and my brother and sister come with, so that I knew that I would be okay, so that he wouldn't try anything. Yeah.
Any other incident you can remember?
I stayed at his house once, and when he came into the room to say goodnight, he put his hand under the blanket and touched my bum and said that he would be thinking about me naked while he was laying beside my aunt at night. And it creeped me out. And I never went back to his house again. I wanted to break into his house, because he doesn't have alarms, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. Yeah.
You want to break in to hurt him, or just
No, just to break in and take all of his stuff, everything that meant anything to him. I wanted to take from him, because I knew that he was materialistic, whereas I'm not. I'm happy to be alive. I'm happy to have food in my belly. I'm happy to be breathing and to pretty much have my health. Whereas he prides himself on what he has, what he can show. And I don't have respect for people like that. I think that it's selfish and ignorant. I started dating a guy named Chris, and his mom worked for the post office. She was a contractor, and I dated him for about 4 years, and I ended up moving into their house, and she ended up hiring me at the post office, and that was my first job. And at first I just did flyers, delivered flyers, and then because of how fast I was and how efficient I was, she had me sorting and delivering routes, because I was able to remember where, because you have to be really fast in order to get the job done in the amount of time that she needs you done. So, and I took a lot of pride in that because it was the first time anybody had given me praise. It was the first time I did anything that I felt I did a good job with in my life, and yeah, and at the same time, and I only got paid once a month, but it was $2,000 for a couple of hours in the morning, and so, you know, when you're a teenager, that's pretty good money. And then I started working for a construction company at the same time, so I worked at the post office for a couple hours in the morning. I'd start at 5 in the morning, and then I would rollerblade to whatever job site I worked at for the rest of the day. So I was making pretty good money by the time I was 20. I should have had my own place and that, but like my own house and a car. But I drank a lot, got into drugs, and yeah, I went the other way.
So when's the first time you use heavy drugs?
The first time I used heavy drugs was just after my son got meningitis and had a couple strokes.
When that happened?
He was 8 years old. I can't remember how old I was. Early 30s, I know that. I had him when I was 24.
That's the first time you used heavy drugs?
Yeah.
Okay, what do you use?
I smoked crack.
Okay, who gave it to you?
It was a friend of mine.
Is it during a party or just at someone's house?
No, just someone's house. Yeah. It was in Toronto. And then after that...
What is the feeling when you first...
When you first do it, it's euphoric. I didn't get horny, pardon me, like I hear a lot of other people do. And I believe that's because cocaine... My psychiatrist told me that cocaine activates the same receptors in the brain as Ritalin, as methamphetamines, and if you're ADHD, which I am, then it calms you and centers you and all of those things. So in my case, I didn't get horny or out of control or spastic. You know, it relaxed me and centered me, and I was able to accomplish things.
Okay. You were the guy friend passed you the crack?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the first time?
Yes.
Okay. Then you didn't addicted?
No. I didn't get addicted until after my ex took my boys from me. It was just before my brother got arrested. And I started to go right downhill because, you know, I didn't work at the time. I stayed home to take care of my boys. I was a stay-at-home mom, and my boys were my everything. I didn't yell at them. I didn't smack them. You know, we always went and did fun things together. We hunted bugs. You know, they were curious themselves, and I encouraged it. So, you know, when he took them, I even had a letter from CAS saying that the boys were to stay with me because of his abuse towards me and the children, because they saw it firsthand. But Brad, my ex, because I started going with another man, it was like he lost his favorite toy. And when I got home from camping one time, he had taken the boys, all of their belongings, and trashed my apartment by the time I got home.
Okay.
So yeah, I lost my boys, and I went even further downhill. And then my brother got arrested for the murder and dismemberment.
So he'll stay in jail for, what, 26 years?
25.
25.
But because of the circumstances of the case, at first he was charged with first-degree murder, but because they couldn't prove that he killed her, they bumped it down to second-degree murder and dismemberment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How you end up on street?
This time, well, the first time I lost my place because I was helping too many people, and they were going out into the community causing problems, and the cops kept coming to my place, so my landlady evicted me. This time, I put myself out on the street because of the state of the house that we were living in. It was a rooming house, and there were so many cockroaches, I could not sleep. I'm already an insomniac, and to put cockroaches, like they were eating us. And I couldn't sleep. I couldn't relax. I didn't even want to be in my room. I would lay in the hallways.
Put yourself on street.
Yes.
Where you stay at night?
I sleep in a tent. Yeah. When I was on the streets before, I didn't have a tent. I never even thought of sleeping in a tent. I would sleep, in the top floor of an apartment building or the bottom floor, or I'd sleep in a bank machine, in the doors of a bank machine, or I'd sleep, if it was summertime, I'd sleep in a store, entryway. You know what I mean? I'd sleep anywhere. And back then, when I was staying outside, it was safer. I could walk around anywhere at night, and I knew I was safe because I was Christina Keene, and I grew up here, and I knew so many people that nobody would touch me. Nobody would want to touch me or hurt me because of the people they'd have to deal with. I was a working girl. Because of my drug habit, because it did become a habit after a while, just to keep going, to keep myself going, to provide food, to provide services to my friends or whatever. I just happened one day, someone slowed down beside me, and I got in their car, and I did it, and it was so easy, because it's something that people do anyways.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, for a quick 2 minutes, that much money, I mean, it was easy.
Yeah.
I lost respect for myself for quite a while. My boyfriend at the time did not know that I did it. I don't know where he thought the money was coming from to pay for our habits or our food or anything. He never mentioned it. My boyfriend that I'm with now, he knows that I used to do it. I don't do it anymore. I've been proposed, but I don't do it out of respect for myself. And the one I'm with, I'm honorable that way. I wouldn't feel right.
Right now, what kind of drug do you use?
Right now I use fentanyl. I actually use everything.
Okay.
I use fentanyl, but when I don't have the fentanyl, because it helps with the pain, crystal meth, it also helps, and because I'm ADHD, it also affects the receptors in the brain that people with ADHD, it calms them and all those things, all those attributes.
Do you find those John online or just on the street?
I found them on the street.
Okay.
Yeah.
They just driving, passing by,
I just walk up and down the street and wait for someone to pull over or slow down. I'd wave to them, and they would know that I was a working girl.
Okay. Always in the car, or sometimes will we stay in the hotel?
Usually in the car, sometimes outside. Depends on how I met them and where we were,
Yeah.
but usually in the car.
Okay. Do you mind me to ask you how much you charge?
For a blowjob, it was usually $40 to $60. I didn't sleep with my customers. It was purely just blowjobs. I didn't want anybody entering my body that way, because that's just for my partner.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Right now, how much money you spend on drugs every day?
Every day I spend, wow, I can get a point for $20. And I can easily go through about 3 or 4 points a day.
Do you do needles right now?
Yes, but only my Ritalin. I don't do fentanyl with the needle because whenever I would do it, I would go under. I would die, and someone would have to bring me back. So I promised Stephen that I wouldn't do it anymore, and I haven't because I don't want to die.
Have you ever overdosed?
Many times.
Oh, many times.
Many times by accident.
Okay. What
Yeah.
is the most crazy time you can remember?
Oh wow. In Owen Sound, I I had some really strong stuff, and Marshall was weighing up some crystal because he was selling it at the time, and I had the tiniest puff, and by the time he turned around, I was blue, and he yelled so loud because he didn't know what to do. The guy 2 apartments down from us heard and came, and I was gone for so long that I crapped myself. And when I came to, because they gave me Narcan, I felt more dope sick than I've ever felt before in my life. And the
Could
guy,
you explain more about the dope sick?
I had extreme restless legs. I couldn't, my body, and arms too, like I couldn't control, like the arm movements, I would flail out, and it was almost like a Tourette's type episode, but I don't have Tourette's. And the only thing that was calming was the guy that couple apartments down, his voice, because it was calm, and he was quiet, and it was relaxing. So between hearing him talk to me and telling me I was going to be okay, and Marshall letting me lay on his lap and stroking my hair, between those 2 things, I was able to go to sleep and relax. And after I'd showered, of course, because I pooped myself. Yeah, after that, I was able to go to sleep, and that was the most extreme one.
Never went to emergency.
Yeah, I did when I was in Saskatoon, but that wasn't with fentanyl. My ex was yelling at me, and he wouldn't stop yelling at me, so I started taking pills. I took about 3 or 4 prescriptions of clonazepam and morphine before he realized what I was doing, and I woke up 3 days later in the hospital, and I wasn't allowed to go back home, and yeah.
You just want to overdose by purpose.
Yes. Yeah. Which was the first time in my life I'd wanted to, because he just wouldn't stop yelling at me, and I hadn't done anything wrong. You know, he hit me so hard in the chest. I hit him with a pillow, and he hit me so hard in the chest, it knocked the wind out of me, and it sent me about 6 feet back. And then he just kept yelling at me, so I just said, fuck you, and I started taking pills.
Do you have a chance to see the little one?
No. I did see him once after my ex took him. I was at the soup kitchen, and I saw my ex, and then I saw my little one run behind him. And I ran outside, and I hugged him, and he said, Mommy, I thought you abandoned us. And I said, who told you that? Like, oh, Daddy said you abandoned us. I said, no, honey. And I didn't want to say anything bad about, because I don't believe that a parent should say anything bad about the other parent in front of the child. So I said, no, your dad must have been mistaken. You know, I must have had the wrong number that he gave me, or something like that, because I've been trying to get a hold of you. I miss you. I love you very much. And, yeah.
The older one know your situation right now?
He doesn't know my situation. I don't think he knows my situation. He's very angry, and I believe that my ex brainwashed him, and Devlin believes that I abandoned them. which I didn't. I would never. If I wish that my kids could remember all of the fun that we had, all of the things, and the type of person I was, because then they would know in their hearts that I didn't abandon them. I don't understand how people could do that to their kids, because they don't deserve that.
Right now, are you in ODSP, those kind of program?
Yeah, I'm on ODSP.
Okay. But you're not in methadone program?
No.
Have you ever thought about get clean one day?
Yeah, but the hospital, last time I was in the hospital, I'm prone to double lung pneumonia, and the last time I was in the hospital, I was there for 3 months. And when I showed I have a methadone doctor, but I'm not on methadone. I'm on pain meds, and when I showed him my hospital records, he agreed that I'm not gonna be alive for too much longer. So that's why he prescribes me as much as he does, and allows me to do, not allows me, but he's aware that I am on hard drugs as well for pain management, because he's not in a position to be able to prescribe me the strength of pain medication that I need to just even to take care of myself, just to shower, just to, to walk, to get food. It's a struggle.
Do you have any plan of your future?
I haven't made any because I don't know how long I have. So for me to plan something...
What do you mean you don't know how long you have?
Well, the hospital told me I had maybe 5-10 years, closer to 5.
To live?
Yeah. I got degenerative disc through my whole spine. I've got fibromyalgia. I've got arthritis. I'm prone to double lung pneumonia. And I can't think of what else. But I got a lot wrong with me.
Because of the...
Because of my lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the hospital already give you a time limit. That's why you just want to enjoy it right now. You don't
Yes.
want to think too much.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't want to put too much thought into planning because I don't want those plans... How do I put it? I don't want to feel like I've wasted my time and nobody's going to finish what I've started, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. But have you ever thought about 6 years later, the 12 years old one become adult? He can probably look for you.
I would like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Why not?
His whole family, my ex's family hates me, and
Every kids want to look for their mom.
I hope so.
That's for sure. So, do you want to fight for that? So, 6 years later.
It seems like it's such a big task, though. It almost seems impossible. After everything that I've already been through, it's almost too much. Yeah. Concern is that I have an addictive personality, and I'm scared that if I'm around the wrong people, I'll fall back into that. I'm scared that I won't have the willpower to say no. My kids, when I had my kids, I never did the hard drugs. I smoked weed. I had the odd drink, but never when they were around. It was only after they'd gone to bed. Yeah, because I never believed in that.
When you look back to your whole life, what do you learn?
I've learned that people can be cruel. There are some good, but people can be cruel. Don't believe everything you hear. Unless you know for fact, unless you find out for yourself, because not everybody is going to tell you the truth. People say things just to make themselves feel better or to make themselves look better, and to try. You always have to try.
Thank you for the story.
Thank you.